Hey, thanks for tuning into the Zelos Podcast. I'm your host, Rocky Snyder. This week, Bobby Aldridge comes back and sits down, and we have a great conversation. Just wait until you get going here. But before we do, make sure you check out my website, rockysnyder.com. If you're an athletic trainer, chiropractor, physical therapist, strength coach, personal trainer, we've got continuing education workshops online and in person. In fact, there is an in-person course that's happening this weekend in West Warwick, Rhode Island, the end of September 27th there. That Saturday, one day, all about joint coupling relationships, closed chain biomechanics, understanding how one joint affects another all the way through the system. It'll turn your world around in terms of how you look at human movement. Recalibrating movement from the ground up, CEUs provided, and just check it out at performbetter.com or my own website. Follow us on Instagram at Rocky_Snyder. Don't forget to click that subscribe button, tell it to a couple friends about the show, and enjoy the conversation. Bobby, I'm so glad you came back on. This has been, for the listening audience, Bobby Aldridge with the Bobby Aldridge Method or BAM metrics has been a good friend of mine for quite a number of years. And we throw ideas back and forth all the time. And now part of the Perform Better family of presenters. His inaugural event was this year in Long Beach. We're just going to talk shop and bounce ideas back and forth because you work with a tremendous amount of professional athletes over the course of time. And well, anyway, Bob, welcome to the Zealous Podcast again.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Rock. Always great to see you.
Always.
Always like to hear the surfing stories.
Well, we're getting into that time of year. September is a beautiful time. It's when the ocean water is at its warmest, and storm systems are kind of just starting to stir up in the Bering Sea and the Arctic Circle and coming across the Aleutian Island chain, heading toward the west coast. But we also have storms off Antarctica still, and they're bubbling up from the south beyond New Zealand and heading our way. So we've got swell coming from all directions. In fact, today is no exception. We've got two different swells coming in. So I'm not gonna cut this conversation short, but just know as soon as I hit the stop record button, you know where I'm gonna be. But hey, I don't want to talk about me that time. We're gonna go back and forth. I'm sure you're gonna ask questions about me, but I want to know, perform better, man. Give me the rundown. This was a dream of yours. You've been going for a long time. You get the nod out of hundreds of applications each year. They can only select maybe 12 presenters uh, from all those, and you made the cut, and you're in Long Beach. Take it from there, man.
It was literally surreal in the way of I'm so used to learning and sitting in the seat and can't wait to listen to all the different great speakers, great Cook, Eric Cressy, Todd Durkin, you, all the different guys, and it was like, oh my God, I'm getting up there. Oh, this is absolutely crazy, and it was like awesome to walk around the show and the different speakers I got to see and chat with. It was just such an experience that couldn't imagine doing. And it started out, I was panicked. I was literally like, oh my God, I got the nod. I'm doing Perform Better. They're like the best guys in the world, these guys. Oh my God. I was having imposter syndrome. I was like literally panicked to go up there and, like I told you, but once I got going, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed teaching. That's my favorite part. I just enjoy teaching. It's not work for me. It's just a lot of fun. Uh, but it was great to see the different guys. Great Cook, I chatted with him. It was surreal. It was awesome. I had a good time.
Yeah, and now your talk. What was the title of your talk, if you recall?
It was about core. So correct alignment, optimize mobility, restore balance throughout the body so you can enhance performance without injury. And so I was showing them how to metrically based look at how you move based on some of the tools I've used over the years that I came up with about 14 years ago. And we use a bunch of different tools with those tools to help the athletes learn how to move better. So
That's awesome. As it turned out, it's just how it works is that weekend we had the Idea World Conference happening in Sacramento. You were down in Long Beach at the Perform Better training summit, and then I was in Kansas City at the NSCA National Conference. Like three main events occurring on the same weekend. It was a bummer because I can't be in more than one place at a time, and I really wanted to be in your room and just absorb everything that you teach because you got some really, I mean, aside from obviously the tools that you've developed over the years between your blocks and your straps and your vest, and of course the mat. I love learning from you. You've got some great insight, solid philosophy, and a fantastic methodology. And that acronym CORE that you just use, correct alignment, optimize, balance, and all those. I would love to talk about that for a second because I don't hear the grumblings like I used to when I began talking about balancing out the body, creating better centration for optimal performance. There were these other people in the industry, which I love, that provide you with an alternate kind of opinion that may be conflicting with your own because just it makes you question and then reinforce and so on. But the let's just take the golfer or the baseball pitcher or somebody that's a rotary athlete that is primarily creating force in one direction, and then there's deceleration after that. But they were of the mind that, oh no, you know what, I actually don't want that to happen. I don't want to bring them back into a more centrated place because that may mess up their swing or their accuracy or their power. And to be honest, dude, I have yet to find that being the case. There may need to be a little fine tuning because they've developed even deeper amounts of power, or they can really connect from the earth up through their body. But that's just a wobble that needs to be corrected. It's not throwing anybody's game off. With your work, where are you with that? Are you more aligned, no pun intended, with like my not so humble opinion, or
And
is
to
it the
be
other side?
honest, I don't know how to argue it either way because I've learned back in the day when I was younger, I would have said, definitely rock, this is how it is and this is what it is. But to know exactly, I believe in aligning the wheels. This is why I use a car. We got a Ferrari, we got a Toyota, we got a Tesla. They all have wheels. Are those
Dude,
wheels?
you have a Ferrari? Wait a minute, you have a Ferrari? How did I not know that? What the hell? Why haven't you come down to Santa Cruz in that Ferrari? We could cruise the coast. I love your Tesla, by the way. We had a really good cruise down to Sportsmith in LA at the end of June together. But son of a
Great.
butcher, that's your wife's car, I bet. That's why you don't get a chance to ride it. Sorry, I got off track. Go ahead, talk to me more about your cars and wheels.
I always use the cars as the analogy. We all have tires on our cars. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're a Ferrari or you're a Toyota. We both have wheels on the car. Those wheels need to be aligned. If they are aligned, then we got to check: are they mobile? Are they turning? Right? That's the mobility part of them. Are they stuck or are they moving? And then if you take that and go, I'm going to restore balance now in those tires, fill the air. Do we just fill the air or do we check it's at 40? 45, 30. That's the metrics I always talk about when measure your mobility and then enhance performance. We're all trying to enhance performance, but we're kind of skipping the first three until somebody gets hurt. When somebody gets hurt, that's when we dive into those three, like, hey, let's check the alignment. What's going on? Oh, his right shoulder's forward. Oh, his left hip. So with athletes, like you said, there are guys, our best athletes are our best compensators. So they're going to have an issue, and they've been doing it for so long. A lot of the teams are afraid to make that change or make them better in the way because they're afraid maybe it'll change it. But I believe it won't change it. It'll make it better. It'll be less compensation as they learn how to do it properly. So I'm on the same path as you to get that, like you said, that right knee working with that left elbow. That's a kinetic chain of shoulder, hip, foot, that connection there. And like you said, when we were at Sportsmith, they're spending $100 million, the NFL, on the hamstring. And the hamstring is the circuit breaker. It's not the circuit, it's the kinetic chain there. And if we can connect the kinetic chain, a lot of those hamstring and groin pulls and things that they're having, their wheels are now aligned. Their wheels are mobilized properly. And we've actually checked the tire pressure. They'll stop popping the hamstring. little less often, because in sports, you're going to get injured because we're pushing performance. Guys are pushing the limits, but I'm in the same talk as you when it comes to that.
Yeah, I love learning or teaching through analogies and imagery, and you just painted a nice picture there. And I will say, yeah, I like if I've got a golfer, tennis player, or well, anybody. We'll take tennis or golf just as a means of doing that. Well, I had a former MLB pitcher trying to get back into the league. He was developing some knee issues, which were really developed from elsewhere, such as the hip and the ankle. So we got the hip and the ankle moving. I'm like, okay, I need you to go throw some balls. Just not a whole bunch, but I just need you to integrate all of the added resources that we've just given you by opening up these restrictions that you have been holding on to for various reasons. But nonetheless, we got your brain, your nervous system to access these movements that have been missing, and now it's got to figure out what to do with all these resources. So I need you to go out and throw. I don't want you to go throw maximal, but I want some accuracy. I want you to kind of bump it up there. And the same thing with the tennis player or the golfer. I need you to go out and hit not a whole bunch, not a bucket of balls, but I need you to get on the tee or something, or at least take the club that we have here in the studio. And I just want you to go through some swings. I just need you to feel what that's like and get that brain, that nervous system to really kind of come online with all this potential that is at your fingertips now. So there's a process there. It's not just, hey, let's just open up the body, because maybe that's the unconscious mind strategy of preventing any future injuries, or there's something going on that you don't detect. There's a reason why people can't touch their toes a lot of times. And it's because that the brain is protecting the body from going too far. Like, oh, how about this? You've thrown out your back before, haven't you? You've had a tweak in the past.
I broke my back in college, so I had to deal with
Ah, there you go. Yeah. How willing were you to touch your toes right after that?
it. No, you're
Not a
not.
chance. It's a protective mechanism. So just getting somebody on the floor and stretching out their hamstrings who can't touch their toes, that's kind of dangerous in my book. That might be taking away the only bumpers around your car, and then trying to go around Laguna Seca track for a time trial.
Well, I was saying your wedge. I loved your wedge course when I took that. I had a player that always told me I can hit downhill shots all day. So Bob never hit it so well. My pro, that Charles, and I was like, why is that? And I started looking at his feet and looking at doing some of the tests you were teaching us, and all of a sudden he goes, I go, dude, do you have orthotics in there? Yeah. The orthotic was putting him in the wrong position. So when he hit shots on the flat ground, he felt like he wasn't hitting them right. But on downhill, it was putting his foot in the right position and he could pure the ball. That was like life changing for the guy to learn. Oh my God, just take that orthotic out. He's in the same position and now he's hitting the ball better. So sometimes when you make that little change, it makes a giant change for someone, and that's what
Huge.
I love about the wedge course, when you're working on such simple things and movements to put the knee and the hip and the ankle in a better position. It just, as the body knows how to do these things. We were born to move. You don't see a dysfunctional baby very often, right? They all can squat. They all can do hands over their head. They sit in that position all day long and play, right? But then you got older, they can't move. And so it's like we're losing our range of motion because we're not moving anymore. And so I think with what you and I teach, we're getting them to just move in all planes of motion. And we're stimulating the body in a way that if you do get that, like I said, that right shoulder to that left glute to the right foot, moving that kinetic chain, you're going to move better. You're going to walk better. Everything's rotational, everything. So when people say, I always say we are all athletes because we're all driving, running, walking, carrying, lifting, doing things. So we're just trying to improve our performance so we can go do what we love to do pain free. I used to be a performance coach. That's all I did. lift, 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 lift. Then I ran into so many people with pain. And over these years and years and years of studying pain and going in to say, why is this happening? It's literally, like I said, it's that kinetic chain that people have to start to understand. It's not a muscle group, it's a connection. And as we work the full body each time we're in the gym or we're at home or wherever we're doing our thing, we will walk better. We will become better human beings in the way of how you have less anxiety, less all these things that people are struggling with. A lot of the feelings they're having is because their neck's in the wrong position. So it causes anxiety, it causes a shoulder pain, it causes, oh God, my back is killing me today. I mean, so many people hold stress in their back and they're thinking exercise it out. Sometimes it's just they're stressed out of their mind and they can't get rid of it. Exercise is a way to breathe and get you to start optimizing how you're moving. So it's like, that's why I always love learning more and more and trying to find out what is out there that we can help people with. But, one of the biggest things is I used to think it was silly was breath. Breath is key. Like every day, you got to concentrate on it. And I love the box breathing where you take a big breath up, you hold it across, you release it down, and then you hold it across, and then you breathe in again. And I play with it with my athletes. I'll say do it for 4 seconds, then 5 seconds, then 6 seconds. So I'm getting them just to think numbers and think box, and then their brain starts to clear, because they're concentrating on their breathing. So it's doing two things to them while I have them do maybe a windmill, a runner stretch, or whatever exercise they're doing. They're box breathing while they're doing it. So their brain is completely clear, and then they come out of it and they're like, God, I feel so much better. But, that's what I like about the breath.
No, I love it. And I love that, for you admitted it yourself, and I'll admit it too, is that we have certain intrinsic prejudice toward concepts until we understand it. And then if it actually has validity and makes sense, then we don't guffaw it or say that it's just, foo-foo or whatever. And you mentioned lower back pain, and not to get too deep into this, and it's kind of a little bit an outfield until you start looking at what pain really is. But there's people that have chronic sites that give them trouble,
Yep.
but it's not because necessarily they have hit it or injured it in a way. It's just that their brain is going to send a signal to create a tension, like, hey, something is going on. I don't have the actual language, the verbal skills intrinsically to tell my conscious mind, this being the unconscious, the lower brain, so to speak, but it's sensing that something is presenting a threat to the system. And what was the last thing that got your attention? Oh, when you threw your back out. That's it. So you know what? I'm going to send pain signals down there to make you slow down and start to pay attention. I honestly have seen this anecdotal experience here, nothing empirical, nothing that I've seen in research. So, I'll put the disclaimer out there, but I have seen it with my own eyes on numerous occasions with people that have chronic issues that come in here. And we'll look at the biomechanics, we'll look at the motor neurology to some degree, visual, vestibular, and proprioception, and all that, and we'll go through some movements, and it still exists. And then, like, okay, what else is going on in your life? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is happening? And in those instances, somebody will inevitably say, oh, I've got this big thing going on. Like, what is stressing you out? That's usually what I'm asking. What is giving you, is there any anxiety or stress in your life? And everybody's just going to roll their eyes at that question because everyone has stress. But then you're like, okay, now coach them through those concepts, those thoughts. Oh, your wife is going away for an extended period of time, and you've got to take care of the kids and the dog and your business and all that. And you just walk them through those things and help them realize, okay, it's not the end of the world. This is doable. Here are some tools you can use. And, and it's happened. They're just, how's your back feeling now? I don't even feel my back. I'm like,
Well,
it's just, you know,
that's
I'm
a,
just always amazed. I love pain science. I love helping people. And sometimes it's not about the exercise.
no, and really, I had a client years and years ago that complained about back pain all the time. We do stuff. She went away for vacation for 6 weeks. Her husband
Oh,
goes,
great.
she never mentioned her back. She never mentioned about her back. She came
Right?
home, she started complaining about it again. That's one story. When I broke my back in college, I had to talk to lawyers for 2 years. I had to deal with a lawsuit that was going on, and because it was a car wreck, head on, and they'd ask me, "How's your back?" I'd get questioned all the time. I'm like, "It hurts right here. It hurts right here." So a few months after the lawsuit was done, I wasn't talking to lawyers anymore. I'm not talking to anyone. Oh, my pain's gone. I wasn't thinking about it every time somebody would say, "How's it feeling?" Well, it hurts right there. And I was like, right there. And so you go find that pain, you go find that tension. And Greg Rose talked about this, that there are people he works with, he fixes their bodies, but their brain is still telling him that's injured. And you got to tell him, you're not injured anymore. You're okay. Let it release. You can swing faster. You can go, and they're still afraid in the back of their brain because their brain's holding on to it. So one of the guys that's been helping me write my book, Louis Pentadura, he's a pain specialist explaining how the brain is more powerful than you know. And they're talking about how you can heal yourself with your brain. And they always say we only use like 90%, 10% of our brain. What's the other 90% doing? So I'm very interested
Yeah.
with learning more about that stuff with the breath and it's a lifelong journey of learning. That's for sure.
Well, having studied anatomy and motion with Gary Ward and since 2014, and for anybody that wants to really expand their horizon, I can't recommend Anatomy and Motion Finding Center Gary Ward enough. Online, in person. If you're lucky to get an in-person workshop, you won't regret it. You'll be emailing me thanks for years to come. But there was something that we would do in these workshops that it kind of just lightheartedly would be called cuddling, where you place your hands around a person's knee or hip or in the hand on the lower back or across the scap region or whatever you're ever trying to encourage freedom or a different experience, giving that tactile response or sensation to an area of the body that is uncertain, that is fearful, that is just it gives such reinforcement. Like, I know there's no EMG studies out there. Again, there's a lot of stuff out there that has yet to be really researched, and I think this is one of them. The power of tactile, of the power of touch. And
Oh
yes,
yeah.
we're supposed to be in an air. We're supposed to be. Our scope of practice is don't lay hands on people. Well, what about PNF stretching, or what about spotting someone on a squat, or like that's out the window as far as I'm concerned. Like, I'm not going to treat, I'm not going to diagnose, I don't do therapy. That's not me. But I am going to encourage, support, and explore in a safe, maybe challenged environment so that things start to turn on. And I tell you, you simply have somebody put their hand on their shoulder or on their backside or against their knee, or you do it yourself in an obviously really professional manner, and amazing things can happen. And I think that's just like breath you were talking about earlier. It's just, whatever. Man. I've seen it too many times to just shake my head at it. There's an essential ingredient, especially today. Like, here we sit about 150 miles away from each other, screen to screen, and but there's nothing better than being in the same room physically with you. Like, we can do this back and forth, but to actually have human interaction and physical contact, just watch the brain light up, watch the nervous system go. I
Yeah,
digress.
always better in the room. I always like the room, you know. That's what I had so much fun at Perform Better. It's like it's always nice to be in the room, and you learn from the other people as you talk about things and ask questions and collaborate and uh, there's so much to learn every day. There's so much out there. I mean, I literally say this. my first 2 years in training, I knew it all. I got it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Got this. I've been doing this now over 30 years, and now I'm more confused than ever. So it's like, can I go that
Dude.
path? Can I go that path? I could go that path. Maybe that. So I feel like the scarecrow. So,
Yeah, we're talking the same thing. I mean, from the imposter syndrome that everyone has, and coping with that while you're trying to present, or just by feeling like you knew everything in the early years, only to be humbled. Actually, not to get on the perform better bandwagon more than we already are, but back in '99, I wrote my first book, and at that time, I could use it as continuing education credit. So I went on a rant. I wrote two more after that. So over the course of like a 3 or 4 year period, I had all of my CEUs, but it wasn't learning. I wasn't learning anything. I was just throwing up on paper, and hopefully it made sense to some people with the things I was writing about. But then I had a guy come into my studio, started renting space, and he told me about this conference called Perform Better, and we should go down and check it out. And I think that was like 2004, 2005, one of the first years it was around. And that was when Gray and Lee were really talking up the FMS a little bit more. And I left that weekend going, I will never, ever let this happen again. I realize how little I know, and I'm so grateful for this experience. And I want to keep learning, and I'm never going to go more than, at that time I think I said 6 months without a conference. These days it's almost daily or weekly, but I'm always into something, whether it's online or in person, because there's so much out there, especially now, 20 years later or whatever. It's just like the information that's coming through here and the technology that's out there. It's just fabulous. I mean, yeah, it's crazy, man.
everything's moving so fast, and the AI and all the stuff. It's really getting, they're going to really start solving some issues with the body quickly. We're going
Oh man. Well, so I didn't tell you this, and I can tell the audience now that I'm going to have a new sponsor on here in next month. It's going to be KinetikIQ. Emma Meehan is the CEO and founder. Sean McVeigh. I met them at
yeah,
the Sportsmith conference in June, and I'm just going,
that's,
this finally the technology and science has caught up to what I've been looking for, and that's markerless motion capture video. And it can be done on your phone. Like, you don't need any fancy equipment. If you got an iPad, you got a bigger screen, but you can actually do this right on your phone. I can do posture assessments, gait analysis. I can do any of your exercises. I can put a phone on you, and it's going to show all the major joints, joint angles, asymmetries. If I want to, I can use their database and their algorithms to create programs that will just basically be partly restorative, but also just based on what the joints are showing. I'm thrilled. I just got the software. I've been playing around with it a little bit. I can't wait to share it with you, and the audience for that matter. I'm just stoked.
yeah, that was an awesome. I met them while we were there. Sportsmith, and
Smart people, smart people.
yeah, she came up with that. She's a programmer and Olympic lifter and all that, and she really knows. It was amazing
Yeah.
technology. So
Before that, I've just been using my phone and just doing screenshots to capture different phases of gait or a person's posture up against a posture grid that I have on the door. But now to actually have something that is measurable,
yeah,
coming back to your stuff, right? It's all about metrics, man. It shows us it takes away a lot of the subjectivity, a lot of the guesswork. You still have to work through the problems. You still have to use your
right.
mind, but man, is it more clean? Yeah, can't tell you enough. It's great.
I'm really excited about that stuff because that's what I say is eventually the AI is going to be able to pick and choose like, hey, they have this issue, this is going here. Oh, this is the program, and it'll give you a few things to do, and it'll then retest it, right? It'll look at it, the AI, it'll look, and then it'll readjust it and go do these two, and all of a sudden your body's like, oh, I'm moving
Uh-huh.
crazy because it
Right?
take a perfect picture, the technology, and tell you, yes, that helped, or no, that didn't change it. So it's gonna be fantastic. Um, as it
You
goes.
know what we also have in common, dude, is that and I think it was probably maybe in the last year that we might have discovered this. You can correct me if you need to, but my first mentor was one of the directors of the Egoscue Clinic in San Diego back in the early 90s. I think probably like 92, 93. And then he branched off on his own and he presented at a conference, the NSCA, while we were in New Orleans, which next year will be back there. But this was back in the early 90s, mid 90s. And he was talking about muscular balance, function development, posture alignment, and so on. And at first, it just kind of floated over my head a little bit until I really listened to what he was saying. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is this is essential. This is important. And here we are 32 years later or whatever. But you went through the Egoscue program too. I mean, you're a lot of the stuff that we do, I'm like, oh, I know where you got that from.
Yeah,
But
and the thing was, I was an athlete at the time when I ran into those guys. Um, my client had a hamstring pull, so for 2 months, I'm doing what a trainer would do to try to fix him and help him. But I wasn't really helping him. He's still having a little twinge. It wasn't getting better in what we're doing because we're doing the regular workout stuff. And I went to the Egoscue clinic with him. He asked me to go, and I went over there and I said, "Hey, Dave," while he's working with my client, I said, "Hey, what would you do for me? My hip hurts like right here." And he goes, "Go ahead and walk for me." So I walk, I come back, he looks at me and he goes, "Do this, do that." He gives me like 6 exercises. I stand up and I'm like, "Oh, that feels better." So then I was like, "Oh my God, this would be incredible to do with my athletes." Because a lot of times I'm like, "Okay, we're going to do lunges, box jumps, this, that, lower body." They show up, my knee hurts. What do you do? Oh, go ride the bike. What do you do with knee pain? And now I had something to do with the athletes. So that's what I loved about it. And then as I started finding out more and more about aligning the joints and getting the body in more symmetry and working on that, I know we're not ever going to be in perfect symmetry, but we're actually always working on it. That's how I ran into Egoscue. So then I started chasing, man, I'm going to go down and get certified next. And then I went to San Diego and worked with Pete and all the guys down there. And funniest story about Pete, everybody's like, "Dude, is that Pete in there in his office? Is that Pete?" And everybody was like afraid of the Marine. Oh my God, that's Pete. Like he's tough. He's a Marine. So one time I go walking by his office. I just stop. I walk in. I'm all, "Hey, Pete, how's it going? I'm Bobby Aldridge. I really love your da 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 da." And he goes, "Bobby, great to meet you. Sit on down." And so I sit down for like 45 minutes. I'm talking with Pete, talking with Pete. So I come out and everybody's like, "Dude, what's he like?" Like he was like the wizard, right? And he's like human. It was really funny. But
I love that. And that's what I love about you too. It's just like, uh, maybe inside, like you're saying, it's like, oh, nervousness or whatever. But then you would never know that because you just walk right over. Oh, I got to talk to this person. I got to talk to that person. I love the networking events. Anytime we're in a networking event, it's in your competitiveness, dude. Oh my gosh. Okay, so for the listening audience that didn't go to the Sportsmith conference, definitely would you recommend going? You would, right?
it was awesome. Yeah, it's great
Yeah.
information.
Anytime you get the great presenters, but they've got this app. And the app, you acquire points when you just interact on the app and you set up times and you set up meetings or whatever, and they'll give you points. And then so this brother here, he starts going off on it on our drive down. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, well, I got this many points." I'm like, "Oh, forget you." All right. So I get on and I just start just thumbing away at this app. And the next thing you know, like he's driving, we pull over to charge his Tesla, and he looks on his phone. He's like, "What? How did you get ahead of me?" Like back and forth, it went for 2 or 3 days. Now we are way above everybody else, like 30,000 points. Everybody else has like 5,000 or whatever. But damn it, he's not going to beat me. And of course, at the end of the weekend, and when we get home, I look on Monday morning and I don't know what you did at the end, but you just took the crown, didn't you? I'm like, son of a gun. I left the party too early. You are one competitive bastard. I'll tell you that.
I was doing that all for you though, just for entertainment.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and then we're trying to collaborate on a few presentations. One of them is actually one of them's on. We just got approved for NSCA TV. We're
Yeah.
the only the second members to be approved to put out an episode, which that's kind of nice when they told us that. And it's from pain to performance. We're going to start to do the filming pretty soon on that. We got to get together on that. But this other place, Fitness Fest in Arizona, the woman reaches out to me and she reaches out to you. I call you or text you going, okay, I set up a meeting for tomorrow morning with her. And then I get on the meeting with her and she's like, oh, well, I've already talked to Bobby. Like, what? You son of a gun. You go and schedule it like an hour or two before me. I knew you just competitive? No, I don't think so. Dude, you are the most competitive guy I know, I think. I really do. And I hang around athletes all the time, but man, you must have been a bastard on the basketball court.
I kind of miss that too, is all that competitiveness. I always say to my wife, as I get older, it's like the one thing I really miss. Because I used to love, I never was the most athletic guy, so I always had to work the hardest, and I had to find the points to, pick on them, and I was good at that. And so, anyway, yeah, I don't know why I'm so.
Well, it's still alive and well. It's just directed at me now. That's good. But yeah, we'll have to do some one-on-one on the basketball court. So coming down the pipe, what do you got going right now?
Well, right now I got a couple of new teams I'm working with, and I'm pretty excited about that. A girls basketball team and a boys basketball team. So kind of really excited about that. I got some speaking things coming up at different resorts that we're working on doing. And I'm trying to finish my book right now that I'm working with.
Oh, tell me about that. Let's talk about that.
That's exciting because I've been working on this for a while and I've thought about it. It's really kind of more academic in the way of what I'm trying to do and put out there. Because Bill O'Grady, he's one of the physical therapists out there, and he's helping me write this book. So him and Louis Pentadora, I literally ran into him at one of the physical therapy conferences. I was showing these people, like 15 therapists, what to do with my tools, and I'm talking, and this guy comes up to me and taps me on the shoulder and goes, "Hey, kid, can I talk to you?" And I'm like, "Kid, I'm 50." I look at him, and he goes, "You have the safety pin to movement." And I go, "What do you mean by that?" He goes, "You literally are like a weight stack. You put metrics to movement." And I said, "Wow, you get what I'm doing?" He goes, "Yeah. And me and my friend are going to help you write a book on this." And I go, "Really?" So he literally has been helping me go through this situation of how to write and what to do and really academically explain it with the references and all the stuff. So that's been a lot of fun because I want to fix how people think about movement, that it's not so complex, that it's like we got to simplify and then move from there to the more complex. But I think too many people really try to, it forces people to chase the shiny object all the time. And it's like, it's a little bit more grounded than that. And I want other people, because I never felt very smart when it came to figuring this stuff out. So I always would listen to the experts and try to figure out how can we make this better. So the book, I'm trying to make it where I can explain 30 years of doing this. This is kind of where you start and where you take it to, and this is why. And if you know your why with your client, it's really about your client and your patient. They need to be able to do what we're teaching them, not for us to be able to tell them what to do and all that. How are they going to practice it on their own? Because if we can explain it in simple terms, then they can do it on their own and practice more often and then actually get a result out of what they're trying to do. Because I think most people it's not about exercises, but about doing what they really love to do. And I think that's what it gets down to. And if we can do it pain-free, that's optimum. So, yeah.
Yeah. I see, I'm just listening to you and in the back of my head, I'm seeing all of your amazing social media posts, the videos you put out there that are trying to help so many people and you're top quality, your instruction, your presentation skills, bar none. And it comes down to again that move well, move often, but move well and move with freedom before putting burden on the body, I guess is what I want to say. Is like, I think we throw things on the body and provide burden without having the optimal level, or at least the acceptable range of freedom of movement. And we've been doing that for a very long time. And it's not always about mobility. So I guess I want to have people hear that. We've been talking all about mobility, and it's a huge component, but it's not everything. We can make people more powerful by improving areas that don't have the ideal level of mobility. But inevitably, we're going to want to load the body too. But I think first things first is we need to find out where the restrictions are, see if we can't free that up. And then once we've got that freedom of movement, then let's challenge the body in ways that it needs to be challenged, not in a robotic kind of only sagittal plane bilateral kind of process that we'll often find ourselves just defaulting to in a weight room, but truly like looking at the way you look at the body, and whether it's through fascial lines or planes of motion. I mean, they're all more or less the same language that we're speaking, right?
I agree. That's what I've been trying to think of a name and what to call it, but it's like fascial flow. It's like you flow, and people think mobility is stretching, and it's like you're not getting this.
No.
Mobility is if you put your feet really wide, that's flexibility. But can you get up out of that position? That's owning the range of motion. So if you can't, you have to bring your feet a little bit closer. That's mobility. And mobility is flexibility plus strength, stability. And so people think, mobility is not important. Yeah, I think it's the key to improving, reducing pain, and having less chance for injury. And
Yeah.
I've really been focusing on this the last like 7 years. And literally, I'm going to be 56 this year. But when I was 50, my son wanted to have a bench press contest with the bar. And they were the 12-year-old baseball team. And I said, yeah, go ahead. So they did it. They did 18. Then the high school kids did it. They did 38. And then the college kids did it, and they did 78. And then they said, Bob, what can you do? And I'm like, oh, man, I haven't done that in like 25 years. I used to bench 315, and I could do 104 with the bar. And I remember front of my shoulders were on fire. Okay. I couldn't extend my arms. I remember it to this day. So I'm like, shit, but I can try to get 79. I'm going to try to get 79 right now, right? Because I'm not as strong anymore. I'm 50 years old. This is going to be hard. So I get on there, I start going. And I go 75, 100, 150, 200. How the heck did I do double the amount at 50? But 25 years old, I struggle to do 104 because I'm more functional. I'm more mobile. I have better mobility. The tires are aligned. They're mobilized. They've restored balance. So my performance was better. And I left the gym that day going, oh my God, this program is actually really working that way. Like I didn't have anything to measure it to because I don't work out like the madman I used to be 20 years ago with all the stuff. And that's why I had 2 hip replacements. We used to work out like crazy men. Back in 23, I had 2 hip replacements. So we used to jump off 10-foot ladders. We used to do I did double jumps for 8 minutes straight with an old school rope. Ran 55 miles, 200 miles on a bike. All these different events that we push our bodies to the max, but we didn't do soft tissue work or mobilize the body. So we didn't know that. I mean, we went to yoga class if there was a hot girl in the class, but we didn't do mobility. We didn't do that stuff. So it was like all this stuff now that these athletes can do. I'm shocked that we're having so many injuries. You know, like I said, if they could get that connection right from the shoulder to the glute to the foot, Kittle on the 49ers first game pulls his hamstring. It's, to me, crazy. And I'm hoping someday we can actually get in there and help these teams and help these players understand how a simple standing leg pull is actually going to connect the dot there. A push-up on the medicine ball, walking it, is working that toe to foot to hand. 2 things of pushing and pulling. Those 2 exercises right there expose a lot to me with an athlete. I can test them just in that, and they get to see themselves, wow, this is harder than I thought. I had a pro boxer that was struggling where they said, hey, Bob, did you work with him? And I said, sure, I'll help. So one day he's at the gym. They take me over to him, and his dad's there. His dad's like 6'4", tattoos all over him. He's a badass, right? So I go, yeah, let's do this medicine. This is how you do it. And I start getting down. I do medicine ball push-ups, and I do like 21 of them, and I jump up. And the kid starts to do it. But the dad said to me, we do medicine ball push-ups. And I'm like, great. So we'll see what he can do. So the kid starts doing it, and after 9, flips on the ground and falls on the ground. And I'm like, the dad kind of looked at me like, why is that? Like, because he didn't have that connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, come on over here. We're going to do this push. So if you can press your body weight 66%, like punching it in an inline lunge, you're very, very strong through your core. So I'm 220, he's 220, and I do it, then I hand it to him. He's moving all over the place. And he goes, and I said, no, we got to cut this weight in half. He'd never done this before. His feet are in a line. His core, he didn't have it connected. So I explained to his dad, I said, basically your son is not punching from his foot through his hip, through his shoulder. He's like a jellyfish. He's punching like this. And it was like, then the dad goes, well, what else would you teach him? So he went from shutting it down, 2 little things, connecting shoulder, glute to foot. That's the connection I believe most people are missing. And that's why I like Josh Henkin when he's talking about the different, and Jessica Bento, when they talk about that connection there, shoulder to glute, 100% agree with that through it's a huge help to what we're doing. And then we add in your foot wedges and what you're doing with that, you're connecting that whole chain that now we're not compensating. And if we don't compensate, less chance for injury. Now we add strength to functional movement. And that's where Gray Cook always says, move often, move well, move often. You know, it's like, that's important. So.
Boom. Preaching to the choir, brother. That is so good. I love it. Okay. You know, I don't know if the listening audience realizes this is a 2-hour podcast special. No, I'm just kidding. But we're out of time, dude. But I know we could go for another hour easily. We do it all the time off the air. We could just next time we'll just meet. I'll hit the record button and we'll throw it up there again for another volume of the Rock and Bob or the Bob and Rock. I don't know. Did you notice that both our names are verbs? That's the weirdest thing. Hey, people can check out bammetrics.com. Is that your website?
Yeah, bam-metrics.com. Yep.
Excellent. And then be on the lookout for Bob and I. We're going to be doing some stuff together in the near future, webinars and some different presentations. And of course, NSCA TV probably will be airing next year. All things go well, maybe sooner, but I'm thinking that it'll probably be sometime next year that we'll get the green light and get it on there. So, man, this has been great. I can't thank you enough for coming on. As always, it's great talking to you.
Yeah, thanks, Rock. And enjoy the surfing later this afternoon.
Oh, you know it, brother. And that brings this episode to a close. Can't thank Bobby enough for coming on. You know, check out all his tools and his website, Bam Metrics. Man, he's got some good stuff. Speaking of good stuff, if you need podcast archives, blogs, or CEUs, check out my website. And don't forget, this Saturday, if you're around the Northeast, especially in the Rhode Island, Massachusetts area, come join me. We're going to be geeking out on a whole bunch of different joint mechanics, closed chain biomechanics. We'll throw some foot wedges in there for sure, just so you can correct movement or encourage better efficiency in the movement you already have. Until next week, get out there and make it a good one.